Thank you all for participating. We'll now proceed to part 2 of the presentation. Do note that you can start writing your questions that you may have under the Q&A tab, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation.
Here it will be a part 2 of the vision mixer, and we will want to go into the aspect for how to put all the multiple cameras together, right? And in this part, we will look at the principles in mixing multiple cameras, part A, and B is shots to void, and C is some basic verbal instructions how to communicate to the cameraman between the video mixer and the cameraman. Now, A would be principles in mixing multiple cameras. Why multiple cameras? Now, because each shot contributes to a scene, and each scene contributes to the whole story. So you build from the bottom, shot by shot. The shots produce scenes, produce the story. So when we look at shots, we want to fit them both in the pacing of the shot and the content of it. And putting all these multiple cameras at the same time, we are able to mix these different shots to contribute to the scene. And just having one camera alone will be very difficult to produce the different kind of shots, different shot sizes and different angles. So the scene will not be able to build up sufficiently if it's just a single camera shot. So that's where multiple cameras are required for improvement in your production. Now, when you are mixing multiple cameras, there are principles involved. So here I list out 8 general principles that is useful for you to consider as you are mixing the cameras. When are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Okay. Number 1 would be motivation. Number 2, advancement. Number 3, transition. 4, adding variety. 5, adding cutaways. 6, entrance and exit. 7, pace. And last but not least is for continuity. Now let me go into the details what it means by all these principles, so that as you are seeing this principle come alive in a video production, as you are watching some other production, you will find that all these principles are being used creatively in it. So motivation is actually the most basic form of an edit. When you are cutting from one shot to the next, you have to have a reason for you to cut to a next shot. That is your motivation. A motivated edit is one that alludes to something not in the frame and then cuts to that item or the event. Okay, it lists some of the reasons for disclosing different information in your shot about the subject through multiple shots. And these 5 that I've talked through in the beginning for the cameraman is this. They are location shots, where you're motivated to show the location, and then followed by showing the action of the person on stage, for example, what is he doing, saying, and then the reaction, for example, the musician starts playing, the reaction of the audience, and then as they are singing or playing the instrument or speaking, there's reaction, there's emotion, there's the expression from that. The emotion are also be captured. Then lastly, adding information into the shots totally, either by slides, lyrics, or etc. So all this extra information has to be motivated for you to cut to the next shot. Now, advancement means the joints are usually be motivated by something specific yet subtle. And so it should not draw attention to itself, yet at the same time, when you cut a joint, should be with a reason behind it. Right? Music can be one of the motivation factor. Visual to follow the audio cue. So when you hear the drums, you cut to the drum shot, for example. When you hear the singer sing, then we go to the singer's face. And then your guitar solo comes in, then we cut to a guitar, and then the pastor comes on stage to speak, then the camera swings over to the pastor or service leader, away from the band. And so these are the different motivation advancement. Now, choice of your edit can be determined by the subsequent or the next shot's advancement. A poor reason to use is to hide errors. sometimes a shot is not good, error, something happened in the shot, or the camera is not stable, not focused. That is an error. Now, some of this error, then we are forced to cut to another shot. That is actually not a good reason for cutting to a new shot, but sometimes it's necessary when there's no other way to hide that shot. Next is on transition. Now, when you're cutting shots together, there will be 3 common transitions used. Number 1 is a cut, which is a straight cut. There is no fade in between. A second one is also called a crossfade, also called a dissolve. Now, the third one is actually a fade in or a fade out. It means that it will usually fade to black, and from black, it will fade into another new scene. Okay, now let's explain when to use this. A transition for a cut will be used when things is happening continuously at the same time. And we do a cut from one shot to the next because it's all happening at the same go. We cut to the beat. This is a technique where for the beat of the music, we cut to follow the same beat. And so when your beat is constant and when your cut is timed to the same beat, it can be a downbeat, 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 and you cut, or follow a line, let's say finish one stanza, and then you cut, and you're following that tempo and you cut. So that's cutting to the beat. Next one is cutting to action, where you see the impact of that action, and at the impact of the action, you do the cut. And so this action can be a microphone holding up and you cut to him talking, or turning around to look at another person, then the cut will happen after the turn. So the action of turning or the microphone raising is the impact of that action. And you can use that as a cut point to cut to infographics or something related. Okay. Next one is a split editing cut. This is actually a transition between clip that will make it look a bit more smoother and seamless. They term it as a J cut or an L cut. Now, J cut means that the audio will start first, you hear the sound, and then you cut to the video of the sound. So for example, here in the J cut would be that you will have the person speaking, you hear the sound of the speaker, but you don't see the speaker yet. Then once you hear the sound, the speaker speaks, the camera, which is on the other speaker, will be chosen, and next you will cut to it. So you hear the sound first, and then the visual will follow a J cut. An L cut will be the other way around. You cut to a visual, then the visual has a sound. Okay, usually it's like a cutting to a announcement video. So we will do a L cut. We will cut to the video, and then the video plays. So we do not have any pauses in between as well. All right. Now, next one is using crossfade. This is very common. Crossfades from a scene will happen over time. If there's a prolonged time, kind of like a delay, like a slow movement of a music, a slow piece, usually we will use a crossfade rather than a straight cut. Okay, to extend the time. Usually it's a visual effects as well. To slow down the pace so it doesn't feel so fast-paced and choppy, but we want to slow it down and more kind of like relax, then you can use a crossfade. Crossfade time will vary. Sometimes it's half a second, 1 second, sometimes even 3-5 seconds for a really slow transition over. Yeah, so the duration of your crossfade would be determined by the next shot, whether the shot requires that long or not. Okay. Now, third one would be the fade in and the fade out. Now, fade in usually means a start of a scene. We fade in from black, for example, from black, and then we fade into a new scene. That's a fade in. And then when the end of the whole song or a segment, and we want to do a closure, end of a scene, we will do a fade out. Now, these are very typical techniques that we use. Now, the next one would be on adding variety to your shot. This principle you can consider is the major change in the camera angle, usually more than 30 degrees from the center axis. If you have one angle to the next angle has to be greater than 30 degrees. Now, that will be another camera angle that camera angle will add variety to the same subject shot that you're taking. So it will change perspective because of the angle that has been changed. So when you are unfolding a story from one shot to the next shot, you can consider one shot that is centered and then another shot off axis, again greater than 30 degrees of the same subject. That is possible. And so the next change will have the shot size change as well. It'll be good. Therefore, the camera angle has changed and the point of view would have changed slightly as well. So that's why we have multiple cameras set on stage so that these changes are able to happen seamlessly without having the cameraman to move to the other corner. And so adding variety to camera angles, and then in the angles of the other cameras are also different shot sizes. So for example, if I am taking a mid shot in the middle center camera, the other two cameras at the side can be either a wider shot or a closer up shot, adding variety. Now next one is adding cutaways. Now adding cutaways is adding depth and character to your production in a subtle way. It is actually, most of them are close-ups. They are being added while the same time hiding or concealing multiple bad joints in your edit. Sometimes certain joints are not good. So we use other cameras to fill in and add in cutaways. Cutaways will break monotony of consecutive two shots in the character. So we is adding something subtle of the scene. It balances between the significance of it and the subtlety. So for example, in a stage, right, when you are shooting the band playing together, the cutaways can be the close-ups of the musicians' hands playing the instrument, and then cut back to the singers, or cut to the musician together as a band, and then the cutaway, the detail shots can be their extreme close-up shots of their fingers, their hands, the certain facial expression as well. So you can use cutaway sparingly, not all the time. It's just to highlight a certain additional input, additional depth. Now, can consider cutaway in your production if you want to add on value. So it's not just a static camera throughout the whole session, but there will be cutaways being added. So camera crew can be trained to say that certain cameras can be deployed to do cutaways. And then they will be shooting different parts of the subject, the detail part of it, and that can be inserted into the edits. Now, next one will be on entrance and exit. It is important to start at the location, and then the subject, either they are already standing on location or they enter into the location. This will allow the audience to feel that this is the bearing, this is the location where it is being set. And then the location will help do an entrance. And then making a cut just before the subject disappears from view is also important, so that you won't leave the camera in a shot and then the subject walks away and leaving an empty shot. And so this exit has to be planned in so that we know when the subject comes in, and then when the subject, before he leaves, we have to cut to another shot to show another subject that is the action, and then the person who want to leave can leave when the shot is already changed to another subject. This is part of the video production requirement, so we don't leave the audience watching an empty frame. Next one will be pace. Now this principle of pace, it's like a tempo of the video. It feels that there is a certain speed and momentum to it. So the pace of the shot is determined by the average shot length, or ASL. Average shot length means that each shot that you carry watching the same shot, if it's a faster pace, you shorten the ASL. Means that you will cut more frequently, it will up the pace of your production. But if you stay on the same shot for a longer period of time, you lengthening the shot length, this will slow down the pace of the video. Right? So some fast songs are cut much quicker, almost like every kind of like a 3-4 beats, you will cut to a new shot. 3-4 beats, you will cut to a new shot. Of course, it depends on the song, it depends on the director's feel, and but usually faster pace cut, like 1, 2, 3, then you cut, 1, 2, 3, then you cut. These are fast paced. Now, be careful, be cautioned that the eyes and the brains will need time to absorb the image's information. So if you're cutting to the next shot too early, it will be disruptive to this process of like seeing what is inside. And so allow a little bit more time for audience to see what is there, then only cut to the next shot, and then allow, if it's a new information, all the more. Usually, typically in a hybrid worship service, we are not cutting to like a DVD release kind of shots. So it will not be as fast-paced as you've seen some of those post-produced like a live concert videos. Those are additional shots from cameras that are being inserted in post-production. Usually for a live hybrid service, the number of pace, the ASL, the average shot length is much longer. You can consider maybe like one stanza, one shot. Or sometimes if you have not enough camera shots, you can consider one whole like a verse, one whole verse before you go to chorus, for example in the song, then you change to another shot for the chorus. If you have very limited camera selections or camera numbers, then you cannot increase this ASL too much. But having multiple cameras will give you more freedom to choose different shots, and you can up the pace by shortening the ASL. All right, so that's another reason why we do need multiple cameras. Even cameras that is locked down, static cameras can be added in and then give you option to cycle between more shots. Then you can up the pace of your production. And next one would be continuity. Now this continuity topic is actually quite broad, and there's a lot of details. Because of time constraint, right, we're not able to go through the details of it. But I'll just highlight to you that continuity is important, and as you are clicking and you're mixing cameras, this is part of the rule that we need to observe all the time. Continuity has certain aspects on like line of action, where two persons are talking the line of action. So the camera that is placed like in this diagram here, the camera at the bottom half, the green camera with the tick mark, those are good camera positions you can place to shoot the scene. So for example, your center camera, your left and your right camera, these are shooting to the center subject on stage. Now, but the camera that is over the shoulder on the other side with the cross, that is breaking the 180-degree rule. So be careful and when we are mixing camera on that particular angle. So when you're cutting from an angle in front of the audience shooting in versus one that is overlooking the shoulder, sometimes it may break this 180-degree rule. But sometimes these rules are not hard and fast. Sometimes director will creatively mix it in to just give a bit of a dynamic feel to it. So once you know the rules, you can break them and break them creatively. That's okay. Now that's the 180 degrees rule. There's the 30 degrees rule I've alluded to, where the next camera should be 30 degrees or greater separated. If they are very close together, less than 30, both of the camera angle looks very similar on camera. And so cutting to the shot next to each other may not make much sense because they are shooting the same subject. Unless the two shot sizes are different, then you can use both camera parked at the same angle to show different sizes. Okay. Matching eye line would be when both person are talking, the eye line are similar, so we match them so that the continuity in terms of when you're looking from one shot to the next, the eye line follows. Yeah. Color balance, exposure, focal point, all these are those extra details. Because of time, we won't go too much details onto it, right? Basically, the key is you must watch for continuity. Okay, try to match all these aspects. Then your production, when you cut to them, right, will look more cohesive together. Location shots, one more is, location shots are extra long shot usually do not have a clear line of action. When the stage have multiple people, the line of action are very crisscross to each other. So that's where the 180-degree rule may not fully apply. When you do a long shot, you can actually jump to the other side of the field to shoot camera angles from one side. And then when you do a long shot, you can cross over to the other side of the cameras that's on the other side of the center line. So crossing the line is doable with this additional technique as well. Again, because of time constraint, we are not able to explain the details of this technique. Now, so Focal point you can consider for continuity. Focal point is where it coincides with the rule of third. This principle is commonly used where subjects are placed on the third of each section. If you see in this example, the right and the middle are left space for the screen, and then the left of the screen will be where the subject is standing and talking. So remember, watch out for headroom and eye line. So the eye line here would be the subject's face and the versus the presentation notes that is beside him. So that has to be on the same eye line. It will help the viewer see the notes and the person easily. Now, last one would be a continuity in terms of white balance. I mentioned that a little bit. The cameras, each camera, when the white balance of the camera is set correctly, it should look that as if all camera have the same color quality. So, for example, the skin tone will appear similar, not too red, not too blue. And when you switch to another camera, that camera also sees the same person with the same skin tone, not too red, not too blue. So setting the white balance for all cameras is important to match it. Sometimes in a production, we're using multiple types of camera, small, big, and then some different brands as well. Sometimes the white balance can be slightly different for each brands, and that's where we need to find ways to tune the white balance manually so that all the cameras that is being used are appearing the same color. Right? Now, some of these symbols that you found on the camera, like tungsten, white fluorescent, daylight, flash or cloudy or shade or automatic. This color temperature, or they run on a Kelvin scale, like in let's say a very typical production use is 3200 Kelvin, sometimes it's 4000 Kelvin or 5000 Kelvin. Now these are very typical lighting condition in church or in a typical venue. So set your cameras to the same function or the same Kelvin scale. Then the production, when you mix between cameras, will be much more similar, therefore increasing continuity in your white balance and improving your shots-to-shots selection. Okay. Now, next topic is on shots to avoid for this. As a mixer, when you are mixing, be careful of certain elements that is not ready. Subject is not ready, the person he's supposed to talk is not ready, he's like either distracted or attending to something else, right? Don't use those shots, got to cut to another shots. Elements in the shot is not ready. Sometimes the foreground, midground or background, the surrounding things around him are not set up properly, or maybe there's attention needed to make sure that the props and the stage design all around is okay. The camera or the lighting or the crew may not be ready as well. Certain shots, they are still adjusting or fine-tuning. So don't use those shots. These are shots to avoid. So then the last one will be shots with continuity issues. So certain shots are there, but then they cannot be used together because it's breaking the 30 degrees rule or the 180 degrees rule. So some of this continuity issue has to be resolved. You cannot use those shots but use other shots so that they can link to it as well. Okay. Now, some of these difficulties in the shot will be present in most of the production. So experience will come in, and then constant working together with the set designer, with the lighting, with the camera crew, and sometimes even the sound aspect as well is needed, because if all these things are not ready, then it will interfere with the production. So we have to have a time that make sure everyone is ready, and then we go for a take. Or once a service starts, then it's a continuous take. There's no NG, there's no good cut. In a hybrid live service with on-location audience, we cannot afford to say cut and then we retake again. There is no such thing. It will be a one take throughout. So it is very important that all subjects are ready. The stage, the platform, the background, the lighting, the sound are all ready. The crew must be able to know what to do in order for the whole process of video production for live service to go through smoothly. Now, last part on the video mixer is on communication. and we want to share some of this basic terminology we use to communicate to the cameraman. Okay, now these are not hard and fast terms. Sometimes different director use different terms as well, sometimes even in their own native language, their own dialects as well. As long as the cameraman understands what the director wants, then they're able to work together. But here will be some common terms that we usually use. Now, the communication will be usually something like this. I will call for a camera number, so let's say cam 1, and then I'll ask him or her to give action, like say check focus. I'm able to see the camera and I'll ask him to check the focus so that it's sharp, for example. So I say cam 1 check focus, so cam 1 who hears the intercom will then check the focus, and then I can give further explanation if required. But if not, then just a key indicator will be enough. The cameraman will be trained to know, okay, check focus means I need to either focus in and sharpen it, because then next thing can be another camera, check your exposure. So they can adjust the brightness or the contrast of the camera. So basically, there are all the different checks they need to do, and it's verbally communicated, where the director is sitting in the control room or further away, cameraman is located outside on the field or on stage. So they can just run through some of these checks along the way. Check white balance and etc. All the checks. After that, cameraman can be called to stand by. So means that the camera is not on air yet, not selected yet, but it will be the next one to be selected. Then that camera will be on standby. Usually in a production multi-camera, once the event starts, all camera will be on standby. That's the default. Your shots will be selected very quickly as you go through. So in a way, all camera has to be on the standby. But standing by can give a cue that you are the next to go. Okay, so when you hear the command say cam 2 standby, cam 2 go. Go means that you're being selected. And if you have a teleprompter on the camera, then it will light up red. Some camera don't have this feature. When your camera is selected, you do not know you are selected. So the only way is that the director has to tell you over the intercom verbally. So when you hear your cam is being selected, that means it's a go. Then you hold your shot or you perform the task that you are required to. Diligently and meticulously, because your shot is being used and seen. Right? So sometimes the subject is moving and you have to track, you call it follow. Let's say cam 2 to follow the pastor. Cam 2 follow pastor. Pastor is moving, so he has to follow. All right? Or then we have to hold still. We cannot do any movement because your shots will be selected. So we tell the camera, cam, hold still. So they will hold still and then they don't do any more adjustment because the shots will be used soon. Okay, zoom out, zoom in, focus out, exit left, exit right, exit top, exit bottom. These are just some of the action they have to do performing the moves. So sometimes director will tell the cameraman, say that I want you to exit. That means the camera actually pans away from the subject, giving a room for the next camera to be panned in. And so this exit kind of move is more a creative kind of a movement, right? The camera can also do a reset, where we tell cameraman to reset to the original state where we wanted it to be. So sometimes they are moving out from a field, and then the director decides to, okay, do it again. And so we will call it cam reset. So the camera number is called, camera reset again, and then he performed that move again. And so these are all happening in a multi-camera setup. Right? These are all happening constantly by different camera crew. All right. Now, enter left, enter right is the opposite of exit. So instead of leaving the subject, now we are entering from a location into the subject that is speaking. Okay, that's the enter left, enter right, enter top, enter bottom. Sometimes we do top and bottom because it's a creative move. We pan from a low level to the worship leader, and then we exit up to the projection screen or the environmental design, and then it has a nice transition out of the shot, and then another camera will come in from another way. Okay. And speed up and speed down is also sometimes we want to zoom in and sometimes we want it to be quicker, so we can call for the shot to go faster, speed it up, okay, or whatever movement or action that you're doing, or slow it down to kind of like slow down the move or hold still, for example. All right. That ends the second part for the video director. If you have questions related to it, feel free to write to us in the chat box and we will try to answer them for you. Now, next part would be on computer graphics or multimedia crew that will be responsible for formatting lyrics or graphics or stills, okay? Now, just highlight a quick one on a few key tips that will be useful to insert graphics into video production, okay? The graphics will be slightly different for video use due to a certain constraint. One of it is actually the title save area. Now, in this image, you see that the white dotted line surrounding the image, right? The boundary inside the box, the dotted line, will be the title save area. Okay, usually it's about at least 5% on each of the corners, the four corners, right? 5% inward. Inside those will be it will be safe. When you are projected to a television, it will not be cropped accidentally by the television's edge of the screen. Sometimes on your monitor or on the LED wall, this title save area will not be present. That means you can fully use all the screen real estate to project all your lyrics and so on. But in a broadcast environment, usually we will advise all graphics, text, logo, and element that needs to be read should be inside this title save area. Yeah, don't put them all to the corners. It will be you will risk of cropping. So we do not want to risk that. So that's number one. Second principle would be use high contrast text. High contrast text or add in shadow or text box. Okay, by doing that, you're able to make the words appear more legible, easier to be seen on camera and on the small screen. So bear in mind, sometimes we also have a mobile phone user. Sometimes the words have to be catered for very small screen size, and therefore your words has to be enlarged and make it higher contrast to be more legible. Third would be using sans serif fonts. Serif are those cursive tail, those small little embellishment that is decorating certain font alphabets. Those small little serifs will be lost in the low resolution images. High resolution, it will be okay. But so be careful of using serif font that is small. Use sans serif, that means font that is there's no embellishment at the corners, so it's easier to read. Place those texts or icons or logos, etc. Right? Flow them from the top left to the bottom right. And this is how usually we read in our normal English way. It's always top left, we read to the right, and then we go down, left to the right, go down, left to the right. It will always end and exit at the bottom right corner. And so it's easy for us to put certain graphics if you want them to flow from one information, like for example in this area here, the title, and then it flows downward to the bottom right, which is the QR code for them to do the action to scan and to register. Okay, this is just a simple technique to consider. Okay. Here we want to share some case study of how a shot will look like and just a still camera shot grabbed from the video. So one camera shoot, this would be a mid shot. Okay, if you're doing a person presenting any words of sharing, testimony, or sharing the word, then the mid shot would be the go-to shot size. Okay, place it right in the middle, it's fine. And then there will be next the graphics being added, which is the lower third title. So the logo or the name of the person is being added in with the text box. Now this additional text being added can be added via your Vision Mixer. If the Vision Mixer has the downstream key function, or DSK in short, a downstream key function, and usually the downstream key function have a Luma key feature built in. Now, because of time constraint, we are not talking about the technical setup of the Vision Mixer. Just bear that in mind that certain Vision Mixer has this feature. It's good to use that and key in, adjust the settings so that the words, the name title will appear crisp and solid. Sometimes you can add a bit of transparency to it as well. So all these are part of the downstream key function of your mixer. Next is we can also add slides. In this example, we add slides not as a full screen slides covering the video shot. We want, in a typical service, the person speaking will also should be seen on camera throughout, ideally. And yet at the same time, we want to project the lyrics or the graphics, the main title, the sub-points and so on. Now these sub-points and so on, we put them onto the side, middle and side to it. So we occupy 2/3 of the screen. This is one way of formatting your slides that way. Okay, definitely you can do a lot more ways to creatively insert your graphics while maintaining your camera person on camera as well. Okay, so just to show you some case study of how we do our sermon titles, and then we add in the main points this way, and then we add in the scripture verses or bullet points, etc. this way. So the fonts are fairly large, and then they are sans serif. They are following the eye line, where the person speaking, the eye level is at where the graphics will be as well. Now here's another case study on if you have a television set beside a presenter. So graphics can be inserted into the TV being projected. And so for this, again, is a mid-shot size for the camera to shoot the subject. We place the subject deliberately to the left of the screen. Name title can be inserted additionally over it, but the TV will show the full screen graphics of all the slides and so on. So this will be formatted slightly differently. So we have to work closely with the graphic designer and the camera team, how you want the graphics to be presented. Where is the placement generally? Where is the center of the screen to be located? Yeah. Now shooting subject with a TV beside has some challenges, that the TV sometimes will reflect the lighting from the set, and so the TV, instead of having a matte black finish, sometimes it will have certain white spots of light reflection, and certain words can be also very hard to see, depends on the resolution of the image and the TV resolution. So some of the small words can be buried inside. So just be careful putting a TV beside. Also need to do a screen test and so on. But it's a good way to include graphics straight away. And so during the presentation, either the presenter click the slides and add one slides on his own, or someone else assist him with the slides movement. Okay, and just another example. Basically, we also show a portion of the set, the background where it is located. Like maybe we want it to be cozy, like a living room, and so some sofa, chairs and so on are dotted over there. It could be some other background scene as well, so to change the mood, to flow with the topic of the presentation. There ends our sharing of a simple short production. Hope that you can draw inspiration from this video and example that we have shot. We want to actually help continually answer any of your questions that you have. It can be technical questions, can be creative questions. Feel free to type down on the chat, and as well as when we go into the live, you can let us know how we can assist you further. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for the presentation, and thank you, audience, for staying with us. We hope that you found the presentation useful. We're now going to switch back to live, where Stephen will be joined by Robert and Thomas to take on your question. So please go ahead and type them in the Q&A tab on the right of your screen. In the meantime, please bear with us while we make that transition to live.